Welcome to the Scatterpot Podcast, episode 54 of the Scatterpot Podcast. I'm David.
I'm Kanan.
And we have a special guest. Hey, please introduce yourself.
Noah Davis.
He has been on here before. Y'all might have heard him before, but he is back today with us on our special episode. So thank you, Noah. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm the most flamed individual on this podcast.
You are in the top three. Probably.
So I feel like it depends on the day or what we're talking about. It's Noah or Daniel. Those are the two.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't really flame Josh Lee because no one's heard from him. Josh wants boom roasted.
He's AFK.
He's gone.
He's AFK.
He's gone.
No, I'm not sure if I think I told you this. So I tried to text Josh Lee to join at least me and my sister and brother to go see the My Hero movie,
right,
which we'll talk about more later. But I text his number. It's a green bubble. It's not.
Yes, yes, I remember you telling me.
And then
this.
I'm like, did he? And I asked, and I'm like, Huber, is he a green bubble for you? And you're like, yeah. And then I messaged him on Instagram, like I DM'd him on his personal, and I'm just like,
he's gone, dude.
Dude,
He's dead.
I have not
Probably.
heard.
Death by Snoo Snoo.
Buddy came back. Buddy came back to give Josh one last suplex. Just Josh suplexed that dog so many times.
One last round of Sweet McLovin.
Oh, dude, I miss Buddy.
Who doesn't miss Buddy?
I don't.
Except for Huber,
except
because
for Josh didn't.
Huber didn't get past the "I'm gonna bite you"
I was about to
wherever
say,
I please phase.
That was so funny to me because like that week. So for any of you that don't know, Josh Lee had this dog named Buddy. It was an Australian Shepherd.
He's beautiful.
Beautiful dog. He's got a lamb's butt. We've discussed.
Big butt.
And so Josh Lee was going out of town one week, and he wanted one of us to watch his dogs, and he wanted either me or Noah because we were pretty buddy with sweet little Buddy.
With Buddy.
But the thing is that Noah lived far away, so he calls me up, and I'm like, Josh, I'm out of town. And he's like, oh, and then he wanted you to do it, but he's like, you know what? I'll ask Huber, and I'm like, I'm curious. And all I hear was, I think I heard it from you, that Buddy just bit Huber's foot.
Yeah, it was a fun week though. Besides that moment,
I could just imagine like Buddy gets let out of the cage. First thing he does goes up to Huber, and just shock.
No, that's immediately. No, he went up to. That's the first thing he did is he ran toward Huber and bit him in the shoe.
No, remember, the whole time you introduced me, I gave him treats, I petted him, sitting on the couch with him, he laid in my lap and everything.
So you did like the proper Buddy
Yes, I did the Buddy thing. He went to go to Josh's room to get his cards. Buddy went with him. Then Buddy started barking, sprinted back into the living room, and then bit me on the foot.
That's amazing.
Buddy's bipolar.
Dude, my favorite.
My
favorite.
Rest in peace.
I was about to say my favorite thing about Buddy. It was one of our APs. Daniel had his wallet in his duffel bag, and like Daniel woke up and we're like, hey, let's go get like, I don't remember, like probably like Panda or something like that. Like we're like, hey, let's go get something to eat. And then Daniel's like, where's my wallet, guys? Where's my wallet? It turns out Buddy had like in the middle of the night took Daniel's wallet and stored it in Josh's room. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Josh, did you like teach Buddy how to like rifle through bags and steal people's wallets?
Smart dog.
And Josh was like, no, I never. And I'm like, Josh, this is the lotion and the tissues all over again. You claim one thing, but there's so much evidence of the other.
Everything is against you.
I was about to say, there's so much evidence against you right now. Now, before we steamroll into... Actually, you know what? Let's steamroll into our headline topic. So Huber and I mentioned this on the last one after we chugged a thing of year-old Kool-Aid. Yeah, we drank...
It's just like watered down sugar.
But it had this weird tangy aftertaste.
I threw mine away, so...
Yeah, well, we downed ours. And it was funny, so, Huber, those glasses, we had to wash them again afterwards because they were still stained red. We used
my
like...
stomach.
We used some, like, Tarvis cups, and they were, like, they were clear cups, but they were just red. And we ran through the wash, and they were still red, and we're like, all right, one more time. And they came off the second time, but... Yeah, that Kool-Aid, it had this weird emanating aftertaste. You're just like, it was cherry, my least favorite of the Kool-Aid flavors, so I'm like, oh. Mm-hmm. But after that episode that we recorded, I had a discussion with our dear sweet Huber, and I know we lied to you on our Instagram that we both went to go see the My Hero movie. In fact, I was the only one that went to go see it that night. But then Huber.
Yes, we did lie to you.
Yeah, we did lie to you, but then we fixed it. We told truth.
We
truthed it back to truth.
So Huber and I that night went to go see the My Hero movie. That time I was seeing it for my third time because I took you to go see it as well.
Everyone saw it.
Yeah, and so all three of us have seen it. Now I liked the movie.
I loved the movie.
And Huber.
I didn't like the movie.
And so I had a brief discussion with Huber about this at a Waffle House after the movie, trying to just tick into that brain. And I realized as I was talking to him, there was more to this than just not liking the movie. There was more, a lot of things he was talking about was more about anime in general and less about the movie.
Right.
So I wanted to have the three of us anime
guru.
Connoisseurs.
I was about to say artures, connoisseurs, and whatever the flip Huber said. His opinions doesn't matter.
He's irrelevant now.
They seem so.
Yeah.
Minorities
rock.
This is Huber's last episode of the podcast. No.
Goodbye, sweet prince.
Gosh, and if I seem distracted during this conversation to you guys and the audience, it's because I'm watching a baby.
Preface that.
I'm watching a baby.
There's no need to preface that.
There's no.
Kane's a dad. It's okay.
FBI open up.
FBI open. Dude, oh my gosh. That's.
So I guess let's just go right into it.
Let's dive into.
So I think how I want to do this, and y'all can agree or disagree.
Okay. Disagree.
I can make. I can make one of these points. I can say the point and then go down like the little. Because it's Roman numeral 1, and then it's like A, and then like
hold on. Fun fact: Huber showed up with notes.
I made an outline because I knew because
like
Noah and Kanan love My Hero, and I'm gonna preface this whole entire thing before we start.
I have the whole manga right there, and I'm gonna be like,
before we start,
rifle
Chapter 3.
I'm like,
before we start,
during the camp arc.
I want to make sure that everybody knows I do like My Hero.
Mm-hmm. While you're making this. Does anyone want... I know you guys have your rain, but does anyone want water? I just realized I'm going to grab myself a water before we get worked up.
Sure.
Do you want a water?
Yeah.
No?
I'll take one.
All right,
I'm going to look over my first point while you do that. But Noah and I can talk.
Yeah, Noah? It's on you right now.
Sweet. Talk to me about your error points.
I have 1, 2, 3... I have 3 main points, and then I have my conclusion point.
Okay.
I think my first point, my second point, I think y'all are going to agree with the most. My first point, I think Kanan's going to have a moment. And then you're going to have a moment with 3, probably him too.
Did you mention, is this some of the stuff that we talked about the other night?
Fairy tales in here, yeah.
Fairy tales? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'll see. Right. I got quotes from so one of my points for something else is Kenji Nagasaki, who directed this film, said the film is, and then I literally pulled quotes from film directors and things to make it sound legit because college sucks, and if you can't cite where you got your information, guess what? You get a 0.
You fail.
So you got to cite everything. I'm not gonna lie though. I really enjoy it because that's really affected.
Are we losing?
How I believe.
No, we're winning. Was there ever any doubt?
Oh, you got fancy water now. Good job.
That's the last of it.
No.
Kroger ran out of bottled water about 2 days ago.
Hey, we have I'm not saying that unless I get rated. But anyways, we have 2 cases of water.
No, we gotta go now.
Hey man, what is it? What there's memes of people saying you could take all the toilet paper. I'll buy. People are gonna be rating people.
Yeah.
Toilet paper.
Thankfully, my family. We're typically stocked well on toilet paper and paper towels, only because there's 7 of us. So we always have a lot of toilet paper and paper towels. So everyone's like, "Oh, we gotta buy more," and we're like,
"No."
Entire pantry full.
I was about to say, we look. Literally in our pantry, there's an upper shelf that goes pretty high up. It's nothing but paper towels. It's just. So quick summary. What did I miss?
I was just talking. I was just kind of mentioning.
Huber waved his white flag. He's ready to surrender.
Wow.
That's right. Yep.
How French of you.
End the podcast here. This is it. Thank you for watching. I've been David, Noah, Kanan. See you next time.
See you next week.
Okay. But no, I just said I had 3 points, and then like my fourth point was like a conclusion point. Okay. Hot. They probably heard that, but who cares? So my first point is. So I'll kind of say what I said to Noah, which is just a recap. But like I said, I have 3 points. My second point, I think you two are going to agree with the most. But I think the first and third one are going to be interesting. So my first point: a carbon copy of the first movie? ? So I go A. Class goes somewhere nowhere near the events of the anime.
Mm-hmm.
Leads me to my next point. These movies are non-canon, meaning that anything and everything that happened. Okay, this is what I wanted to go with. I want to also say the person needs to make the point, and we can't be interrupted.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because that's gonna it's just gonna lead to.
Huber, can you hand me that notebook behind you? And dude, I'm gonna.
He's got a notebook,
dude.
Oh
no, it's a blank notebook. Pass me a pen. I'm gonna make. It's not a Sharpie. No, I have a pen. I have a pen jar on my desk. All right. I'm just making notes of.
We're just gonna take turns.
Yeah.
That's what it's, yeah. So I say these movies are non-canon. Anything and everything that happens in the movie didn't happen in the sense that the characters haven't progressed at all. That's very important. I want to make sure that that's emphasized here, that the characters haven't progressed at all. So B, my second point. Class has fun and proceeds to get attacked by real villains. How convenient that they are also just powerful enough to beat them in both movies. And my final point. It's My Hero is having the same issue Marvel is having right now. What do I mean by this? And I say, well, Kanan, for you know Marvel better than any of us here because you've seen every single movie. So this may be easier.
I own every single movie.
And he owns every single movie. So this might be easier for you to understand. Marvel is having the superhero effect, where all of their movies are the exact same. Introduce Hero. Hero has a problem, family issues, power issues, or friend issues. He or she then fights a villain who he haven't even heard of up until this point, and then that character's wasted. Too many characters are wasted for what? Development of a character who gets shadowed by the original Avengers. So that's my point with. That's my first point. I think that's my last yeah. So that's my first point with. We see these amazing villains in these movies, and then they're just tossed to the side like nothing. So that was that final point. So I don't care who wants to respond to that point.
So I'm gonna start on the. I'm gonna start.
You can go through it. You can go through
that whole point. So all right. So first off, you're talking about anime films and the My Hero movies and how they're very similar to each other. I'd make an argument that most anime films have that similar plot structure.
Yeah.
Because for an anime film, they have to be in this line of canon, not canon. Because the thing is that an anime film, when it's based on a TV show, it's arguments on if it's canon or not. And for example, the first My Hero movie was considered non-canon for a long time until end of season 3. They introduced an episode that explicitly made that movie canon, where they explain I think it was after it was after the training session with like Bakugo and Todoroki and Deku and All Might. And then All Might,
the fight, I think, between Deku and Bakugo.
I think it's before
he gets
that.
Called by Melissa.
I think it's before that because what it is that I think it is I think it's after their training session with All Might, where All Might flipping destroys them, but they barely squeaked their win out.
Okay.
It doesn't matter when the episode happened, but in one of the episodes they kind of go. All Might goes, "Hey, I got invited to the Eye Expo on Eye Island. Come join me." That technically officially makes that movie canon.
And he also gets a call from Melissa,
the
blonde-haired girl. That's
in the first movie. For the second movie, it's going to take a while before we get canon because a lot of aspects that are in that movie are just now appearing in the show. Like, for example, Deku's gloves that he's wearing, which people who are readers of the manga call the Air Force gloves because they give him the direction of his wind flicks. He just got those in the anime. He just got those flicks right now, and Ida shows an ability that he has not used in the show yet, and honestly, he doesn't use in the manga until a particular arc that's coming up soon. So who knows if or when this movie will become canon, but there is the potential that this movie will become canon just as an episode releases and then mentions, hey, the Safety Commission wants to send you guys to Naboo Island to be there until that exists. I'll allow you any little rebuttal there because that was a point and a half. Mm-hmm. Any little rebuttal to that?
I have a quote from Kenji Nagasaki, who directed the film, the second film.
Yes.
So he said the film is non-canon
mm-hmm.
and should be deemed as an isolated story. That's in a completely separate point that I've have come up.
Is your point that what is got?
So he's just confirming the movie's non-canon at least. So I'm still open to the idea that it could potentially still become canon because
right. Well, I mean, they took maybe 30 seconds to tie in the first movie to the show.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it doesn't. All it would take is Kohei Horikoshi talking to the showrunners and going, "Hey, make it canon."
Right.
Because and like there's and it's the argument of who do you trust, the director or the creator. It's weird because like you mentioned the MCU, that's a big thing right now. Because if you ask the directors of Endgame where Captain America went after he teleported back, did he go to an alternate timeline or did he go earlier in the MCU timeline? The writers have an answer, and then the directors have an answer. I think the writers said that Steve Rogers went back in time in the MCU timeline, so there's an old Steve Rogers throughout the movies. But then the director said he created a new timeline, and he lived on that timeline, then popped back at the end of the movie. And both make sense, but both of them, there's no definitive answer because both of them are technically right. One person wrote the story, and the other one directed the story. So we'll have to see on that. That is a good point. I was curious if there was any quotes like that. That's very good. Another thing I want to mention is you mentioned how both the students are barely powerful to beat the villains. If you recall, Wolfgang, the villain of the first movie, was not able to be beaten by students. It was only a Deku All Might combined Droid Smash, both at assumedly 100%, All Might 100%, but like Deku probably closer to like 70-80%. Like who knows?
And like, All Might, I mean, All Might's probably enough at that point.
I was like, so that. Like the students weren't strong enough, and that was actually a thing I really liked about this movie. It was that it was just the students, and they got to experience that. We got to see them because like that's the thing. It's always great to see the pro heroes, but I want to see the students do more fun things. Now this does not relate to this conversation in any way, shape, or form. I just made a note of it because you're wrong.
Okay.
About the MCU villains showing up out of the blue. 9 times out of 10, the villain either gets created in that movie or has been secretly like it's rare that the villain just goes like, I'm here. The only one that really did that was Zemo to an extent, but he's even showing back up in the Falcon Winter Soldier show. But like Killmonger had secretly been working. He no one knew he existed. No one did because he's been living in like the inner cities for his whole life, and then he just finally decides to go Wakanda. Ironmonger in the first Iron Man movie was created in that movie. It was Obadiah Stane, a former mentor of Tony Stark's. Whiplash was really nobody until he made the whips and created his own arc reactor. Like the MCU, like the villains do. Most of the time, I do agree the MCU does have a formula to it, but I don't believe it's the villains showing up out of nowhere and being one and done, because the only one that I really think is one and done that I'm kind of upset with is Ronan from Captain Marvel / the Guardians movies, because I really like Ronan, and Ronan seems like he would have been a lot cooler if he had more time. But most of the other ones, pretty much, they were a foil to the protagonist to overcome. And that's a
Whiplash and Yellow Jacket I was a little disappointed with. Or Yellow Jacket.
Well,
I was a
Yellow
little bit
Jacket.
disappointed with both of those.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, the thing is that like they're just the foil. They're
Right.
they're the foil to.
I understand it.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean that's the thing. There is a formula to it, but can we all agree that formula works?
Oh yeah.
Like that's
Good movies.
Like the thing, they're not bad movies because they use the same formula. It's a little
No.
upsetting when they're using the same formula, but I feel like if a formula works, as long as you put in a decent spin on it. Like for example, one of my favorite MCU movies is Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same formula as all the other intro origin movies, but it's all the visuals and like magic. It's so cool to watch it all go down. Like that's like as long as you put a spin on it that's enjoyable.
So you're fine with.
I'm fine with it. Ant-Man and the Wasp is probably the one I'm least okay with it, and that's because I really didn't like Ant-Man and the Wasp. My least favorite Marvel movies go as Iron Man 2, Thor 2, Ant-Man 2. The second one.
Yep.
Did you have any?
Yeah.
No, Kanan.
Yeah.
I share Kanan's opinion on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can like the only thing that I can agree with is that as far as 9 goes,
yeah.
To me, he's a
That's
little
a point
bit.
I have coming up.
What to me that maybe that's a little bit too powerful of a villain to just say here he is. Here's a little bit of development.
But I feel like
I can't agree with that.
Yeah. But I feel like that's an error of the fact that these characters have been built up to be so powerful. And
Right.
like well because and here's the thing. You can't cuz I mean the villain of Wolf would you all right, question for both of you actually. Do you guys prefer the villain from the first movie or the second movie?
Oh, second movie.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay,
He's
and the
more-
reason why is because the first movie he's super weak and he's only strong because he injects himself with drugs like at the last second, and he's like, "Ugh," and then you look at him and he's a completely different beast. While 9, even though he's way overpowered for being a one and done villain, well, who knows if he's one and done? No, we're not going to spoil the movie, but I'm 99% sure we're never going to see 9 again.
Yes.
Like maybe if the movie ended 2 minutes
Just think about
early,
Endgame.
no. Like here's the thing: if the movie ended 2 minutes earlier,
Just think about Endgame. You're
if the
right.
movie
Yeah.
ended 2 minutes earlier, 75% chance he was dead. But I'm 99% sure the dude's dead.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the flowers, a lot of flowers. But yeah, so I think we're just gonna have to get used to that if My Hero continues making these movies, that we're gonna have to deal with just a insanely powerful character, because these characters for the most part, even the weaker ones, they're pretty powerful. And that brings me up just for the that's sort of the point of the show, and this is me getting super about it.
But it will make for because the Doctor, and there's obviously more created subjects than 9.
Yes.
So
Right.
that does add an air of excitement to when we
See that
when we get to that.
So
for those
I'm
of you
reading.
that haven't read the manga.
I was about to say, when reading the manga, there's a lot of interesting things coming up, and a lot of big things are going down in the manga right now. But one thing that's kind of interesting is this show, with these kids being so powerful, it kind of adds to the quark singularity theory first proposed in the
Oh gosh.
Next point.
All right. I was gonna say
No.
we're on this point
all right,
for a really
all right,
long
let's go to
time.
the second point. Second point.
Second point. Now, I think you two could agree with this. This is the one point I think you both should agree, but again, you could disagree.
Mm-hmm.
My hero is becoming a cow. They're trying to milk.
No,
I would disagree with that.
I disagree with that full-heartedly.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Golly.
No interruption.
So
Sorry.
I said this point cannot be denied for various reasons. So immediately we can look at the two games. Okay, so the first game had a limited set of characters. Second game came out, which they could have just done DLC, arguably.
I mean,
Second game came out with new characters, different movesets. I don't know, from what y'all said earlier, there's different timings and stuff, but new characters anyways. Then that moves on to a second point. There's 2 movies. I didn't make saying why create a whole nother story and plot and then say, oh yeah, this isn't canon. But then you brought up the point that, oh, well, they can make it canon anytime they want to, which I find to be lazy writing, convenient writing. That makes sense. Like, if you're in a, let's say, like, if you want to explain something that would be convenient for something that happens in the anime or manga, if you will. And then my third point to that tiny little thing is there's 4 seasons currently out, with, dare I say, at least 3 to 5 more on the way. And then I say this. This is a cow being milked until it becomes another Dragon Ball or fairy tale. And then I'll say this leads me to my next point, but that's the next point. So that's my second point.
I'll take this one first.
Yeah. You start us off here while I do some fact checking.
So with that one, the lazy writing thing, sure. But I personally don't want to take 10 minutes of an episode to explain the movie that I've already seen once we get there.
Then why have movies? That's my point. There's no point in having the movies if
fan service.
I was about to say,
they want to see.
You have a fan service point, I bet. Do you?
It is mentioned.
Okay, so let's hold off on the fan service discussion until.
All right. So other than that, the biggest I'll touch on the cow being milked.
Yeah. I'm doing some research right now. Give me a second.
And this is actually, when you and I talked about this the other night, this is when I said if you read the manga up to past where we are on the show, then you would probably change your mind about that point.
Question, just quick aside, where are you at in the manga right now?
Not very far. Like, I barely read.
Further
than,
I know, but I was really excited to talk to you about some of the newest developments.
Yeah, I'm not too far ahead. But anyways, so there's that, because while and you told me this the other night, it wasn't intended for My Hero to last as long as it's going to last originally. However, I would say that they have done a pretty good job not making it look like Fairy Tail or Dragon Ball up to this point. I mean, obviously it could take a turn for the worse and it could be a terrible show in a couple seasons, who knows. But so far, they've done a pretty good job. I would say people are still just excited about it as they were when it started, for the most part. Yeah.
Okay, good. So shonen animes are meant for 13 to 18-year-olds. That's like the set field they're meant for, because
Legos are meant for 8-year-olds.
That's true.
What are we using to hold our phones right now?
It would appear Legos. That's a secret that just got exposed.
Dude, that secret's been exposed for so long.
But yeah, I was making that point and I completely forget why. No, because I got.
Well, you were talking about how shonen is a set age for 13
18-year-olds. Yeah.
Well, in any case, while you're thinking about that,
go ahead.
I think, especially if you were to read ahead in the manga, there's a lot of stuff happening and that is going to happen.
Yes.
That's not just when we get to that in the show. You're not going to think, oh, this is just them milking the cow. They're creating more stories that are just, if not more exciting, to me at least, than what we've already seen.
I really want to ask you this again. What's the last thing you've read? I'm sorry to be prodding at you like this, but
prod.
Probably, I don't know. Let me.
All right, because there's one aspect in particular that's coming up. If I had to ballpark guess, early season 5, whenever season 5 comes out, that is going to change a lot of things. And they revealed this one thing that opens up the door for this very interesting development to happen. And now, granted, you could look at it either you can look at it as a doom and gloom sort of situation, because they give you sort of a number, like sort of how we know that Deku at the point of the movie can reach 20% for a limited time. That's his cap. And you can look at that as sort of a doom and gloom, like, oh my gosh, we're only 20% through this thing. But I feel like they're definitely ramping it up, because I mean, yeah.
And that was a point that I think I mentioned the other day with I think we both agreed on this. See if you agree on it too. They will more than likely do a time skip, in the sense that they'll start off sophomore year.
Oh yeah.
And then they'll skip through the year.
So where I'm currently at in the manga, I'm willing to bet on it that after this arc that I'm currently reading ends, there is either going to be a huge time skip, or the show is ending. One of the two things, because this arc that I'm currently reading, people are calling the war arc, and it's all the major players prepping, and they're all literally in the volume that came out this past Sunday. The fight has started, and it's actually kind of cool. There is this one panel in the newest chapter that released that's very reminiscent of, it's funny you mentioned MCU, the Age of Ultron shot of all the Avengers like pulling back in the very beginning of Age of Ultron, where they're charging through the forest. It's a shot of like all the major heroes just like charging, and it's actually pretty baller looking. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't know when that's gonna happen, but I'm so excited for that.
But so I would have to disagree on milking the cow, and like say, I think you would change your mind.
I do. And so I'm gonna just tag a little bit on this. Good. So I believe, like, I'm not seeing My Hero as a new show. I'm seeing this as I dare to say it, era-defining show, like the such of Naruto or Bleach. I wouldn't say Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball's like always been a thing, but like Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, sort of those kind of animes that are like really big and everyone loves them, and then they go and like they will end eventually, but it's going to take a while, because this show is, I mean, here's the thing, like, we're 4 seasons in with 2 movies, and the show arguably is better than it's ever been, especially with season 4, how it like, that's the thing, like, every season is better than the one before it for the most part. Is currently season 3 still, like, season 3 and season 4 are like neck and neck for me, and that's because I love season 3. But like, it's not degrading. It's like, I mean, we're in sort of a slow arc right now, but it's not like this show is trash. Yeah. It's still enjoyable. And you mentioned the game in particular. I looked this up. So the game the first game, oh gosh, I meant to look this up even further. The first game launched with 21 characters.
Okay.
And then it added 2 DLC characters.
Okay.
To a grand total of 23. This game starts you off with 38 characters. That is a 15 character addition to the current roster. And they've done slight tweaks. So I believe personally 15 characters is enough to warrant a
$60
sequel as you're sitting in front of a Smash Brothers wallpaper spinning across 3 months.
I don't agree with that either. Because I love that they gave so many for free.
Well, yeah, and so that's the thing. So like,
I mean, yeah, you can make a good point on the game, but what developing company doesn't do stuff like that?
And then also, and also, this is just something I've noticed.
Very few.
They've changed the physics mechanics of the game a fair bit. Like, for example, one thing that's kind of upsetting: wall splats are a lot less common.
Really?
Yeah, I'm flipping, like, I'm full cowling Deku and shoot style, and I'm not getting the wall splats I'm expecting. I'm like, that should have been a wall splat, but so they've changed the physics engine, they've changed the graphical look. It is, and you introduce these characters that have these very interesting quirks. Like, for example, one that's slight spoiler for you, but non-spoiler for everyone else who loves the show. The character Lemillion, his quirk is permeation, and he can permeate through walls. Now, the way they did his quirk is really cool in the game, and there's a lot of things that personally I think would have been weird and wouldn't have worked in the first game, because the first game all the characters were pretty much wombo combo brawlers. Like, if you knew what you're doing, you could not be stopped.
Yeah.
They've changed the timings on a bunch of things, so a lot of combos are harder to pull off, and they have these interesting characters like Lemillion. One of his quirk buttons, you can literally go invincible. Like, you can become invincible for a limited time, but you can permeate through all the attacks. Like, you can just go straight through it. And then you have characters like Twice, who's also in the game. He can actually make a double that he can control of the other player. This is something that blew my mind. This Night Eye, you can actually see the future moves. What it will do is, like, I don't know how it works. I don't understand it. But if you do a certain move, Night Eye has a block move. It's not his block, but it's his it's his third quirk ability. So this button, the right button, he's in a blocking formation, and that if you attack him, he instantly counters, grabs the face, and throws them. But then he has this emanating area, and I'm not sure how it does it, but you get like a half a second of prediction beforehand. Like, for example, let's say you hit an attack, I would see a shadow of you doing the attack before the attack actually went through.
Maybe it'd be like, so you're saying,
so like, let's say for example, I hit the quirk button to, like, let's say I was playing as Ida and I'm doing the rocket kick that like swings me around.
Mm-hmm.
You hit the button for that rocket kick, a shadow Ida will spawn in front of you, do the rocket kick, and then you're shortly behind it, giving me enough time as Night Eye to either prep for a block, or it's a visual thing to tell you, like,
so it slows down. Does it slow down the player?
I'm not sure because I haven't played against a Night Eye yet.
Okay.
And I haven't had that happen to me, but like, it seems it probably keeps at the same speed, but I feel like it just makes the tells more obvious. And I'm gonna be honest, it's not a massive help, but it actually is a help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you literally, because there's a fight in the show that I did in the game, Night Eye versus Rappa, our good old boy Rappa, and Rappa is a stronger muscular, and in the good and bad way. Like, for example, his punches are ridiculous, but he's insanely slow, and like, but if you can get close, you're dead.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was about to say, but like, Rappa was coming for an attack, and I see like this shadow Rappa, and they added a dodge mechanic sort of, that if you're blocking and flick the stick, you can like tuck and roll. You can, basically, and you can tuck and roll out, and I'm like, dude, it's actually like I'm almost 100% completed the story campaign, and I'm like, this is actually fun. I love it. So I'm personally don't think the games are a cash grab.
Mm-hmm.
Is the show huge? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it's getting milked? Not yet. Everything I've seen from the actual showrunners itself, like, maybe not the merchandise and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Merchandise is always milking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like the show and the show contents, like the games,
Mm-hmm.
the shows and the movies, none of them have been like, that's just sucking the cow's teat for me. That
Mm-hmm.
hasn't happened for me yet.
And I want to go back to a point. You said era defining.
Era defining.
So
yes.
are you saying My Hero is this era's best anime?
Not best anime. I said, like, for example, because best anime is always on a seasonal basis. Like, it's very rare for one show to permeate the best thing. Because, like, for example, like Demon Slayer is really big right now. But I guarantee you, when the winter season of anime comes out, there'll be another show that overtakes Demon Slayer.
That's not what I was referring to. I'm not referring to seasonal. I'm referring to, like, SAO, for example. SAO was the best anime out there.
I'd say this is more along the lines of, say, as I said before, like Naruto and One Piece and stuff like that. Like those big, like, oh, that's that shit. Like the show that maybe not everyone watches, but everyone's like, oh, I know that show. It's not like a question, have you heard of My Hero Academia? It's like, oh, I've heard of My Hero Academia. Like Attack on Titan, sort of. Not everyone's watched Attack on Titan, but everyone knows of Attack on Titan. And everyone who watches Attack on Titan, I'm iffy on apparently the second half of the third season, which I haven't watched yet, is really good, but the first half of the third season didn't really do anything for me. But people who watch Attack on Titan, they're like, it's great, and that's the thing. I feel like it's that kind of show.
Are you comfortable?
I want to lean.
You can probably
lean. you can lean.
You're good.
Yeah, you can do what you want.
Okay.
You just you saw me move my mic when I readjusted myself.
Okay.
Yeah, if you ever move,
Just do it quietly.
Kanan says this. He whips.
Yeet. Okay.
Next point.
So, moving on to the third point.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned this to Kanan, talked about it a little bit, kind of mentioned it a little bit all around, but I said, to me, this movie was kind of like reliving Fairy Tail. And then we did say this point earlier, but I think we could all agree that the villain was a literal god. Can we agree on that or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on.
With his faults.
Gets tired.
Yeah, he gets tired, and he has serum that can make him stronger. But yes, continue.
Mm-hmm.
He kills himself. He's essentially killing himself. That's what they're setting up. Like, he needs cell. What do they call it? Cell activation.
Yeah.
He needed cell activation quirk because his cells were literally killing themselves every time he used his quirks in excess. Mainly the lightning move. Every time that lightning moved, bro, his heart attack was shortly after.
You get real tired.
I was about to say, if I summoned lightning from the sky, I'd be pretty tired too.
Okay,
so continue. Sorry.
Now
Yeah,
continuing. So I said the villain in this movie was the most powerful villain I have personally seen so far that the kids had to face. I put in parentheses, there may be another villain in the season that was powerful, but I'm not sure, referring to season 4 and manga.
It's a tricky thing, because, just quick aside on that, there is a villain in season 4 which arguably is stronger.
But Deku defeats.
Well, because Overhaul, like, arguably is...
Overhaul, low-key, might be the strongest character we've come... Just... He
like,
may not be the most... Because 9...
He has, like, these over-the-top, like, insane god-tier abilities. Overhaul's quirk is very simple, but boy, can it hurt you.
And I would say the same thing for Tomura.
Well, they both have similar quirks.
Right.
So Tomura has a decay, of course, which is like Tomura's not the most powerful, but if he gets that hand on you,
it doesn't matter who you are.
You're I mean, unless you're Aizawa end of season 1 and just get cocooned for a season.
Well, he got his forehead smashed in the floor by a Nomu.
Dude, he got his forehead smashed. He got his face. He got his elbows peeled.
Literally took his head.
And then he got his elbows like shredded by.
He's fine.
But Tomura was weak at that point. Tomura's getting stronger. Oh, also they have another. They added a new Tomura in this game.
I remember you telling me about that.
He's actually super OP.
I want to try him.
No, you're gonna play Mineta because you're like he's gonna be.
Oh yeah, well I'm playing him first, and then once I destroy you with Mineta, then we can have some fun. Because you've made this personal, Kane. All right, so I'm sorry. Was that
continuing once again?
I was about to say sorry. We just keep going on these little tangents.
Yes.
No interruptions.
Made a side note here to that last point, so I guess I'll say the point since. Yeah, so I said this villain's the most powerful villain. That again, like I said, I have personally seen so far that the kids have to face. Again, like I said in parentheses, this may not be the most powerful villain, like I said, because season 4, you guys said Overhaul was probably arguably the most powerful. I said many of Class 1A, this is the side point of this, many of Class 1A should have died to his attacks. And then I go on to say this, sure, you can use the argument that it's an anime, so what happens should be taken lightly. To that I say, this is supposed to be a mature-ish show. Can we agree on that?
Sure. Yeah. Later seasons especially.
Yeah.
Show some death. So show some characters actually dying instead of a random person related to the character getting hurt. Make the school understand that they can't protect the kids from these new villains. Get rid of their plot armor. Because arguably right now that's the only thing keeping any of Class 1A alive. Because I think the girls are probably the weakest.
Well,
with all their quirks.
The girls are weaker, but they're. I mean, I'd argue Mineta is. I'm not gonna say Mineta's not the weakest. The weakest in my mind is the Invisible Girl, and that's only because we haven't seen her use her quirk.
She's so
really.
useless.
Well, no, apparently
we saw her flash.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've only seen her use her quirk once, and because apparently she has the ability to like redirect light and make these bright flashes, which sounds like a cool quirk. It's just currently in the show, in the movie so far, we have not seen her do any of that.
Still better than a glowing baby.
Oh wait, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna mention it because that's so funny. Because I was okay, yeah. Is there anything else on that point?
Yeah. I go on to say, for me, if I were to see more characters die in the show, I'd probably be way more hooked and be on the level where you guys are.
Watch season 4.
This argument is coming from the perspective that 2 movies, 3 seasons, and no manga, and no season 4 yet. So I say, okay, why did I mention Fairy Tail? So the end fight was interesting to say the very least. I enjoyed it. I really did. We see some cool villains. That we see the
Chimera, which is the
he was
Chimera is my favorite of it.
Like we see,
you have Chimera, which is like a dog, bird,
disgusting thing. Yes,
basically a hippogriff.
Creature.
Yeah, he's a creature. And then you had what's her name?
Slice.
Is that her name? That's her name, Slice. She had razor hair,
and that was cool.
That was a cool idea. And the only problem I have with that is that was Tokiyami's fight, and I wish he had more of a moment.
I got some major. Remember that the circus freaks from Ben 10?
Yes,
the girl with the hair. I got some.
And then the other one, the other one, his name was Mummy, but I mean, who remembers him? Because he got defeated. He was the
cool
first.
for about 10 seconds.
He was
really
cool,
cool.
but
He was really cool until he got just clapped. And I mean, arguably he would be the weakest. He's
Aizawa with a little extra flair.
Yeah.
And then I keep on making this point. Like I said, we meet some cool villains.
Yes.
Which, to my knowledge, are only mentioned in this movie and are
Correct.
disposed of.
Correct.
Again, wasted material. But back on Fairy Tail. The end fight reminded me of Fairy Tail because Deku and Bakugo team up to stop this god tier of a character who is literally controlling the weather around them. And then this is the point where I was told I'm going to kind of skip some of this point. But through the power of friendship, yes, I said friendship, it's a rivalry. But to say that they aren't friends would be disingenuous. Because I can't say that. Oh yeah, I say at the very end of that point, I say we won't talk about that because not everyone doesn't understand what's going on.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that was the third point, and then I have a conclusion point, which is more like goes into shonens.
While Kanan's squatting in a corner.
Kanan is squatting in a corner right now.
So the wasted villain thing. Well, let me go in order. So 9.
Yes.
He's the most flashy, powerful character.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's a movie. I mean, you want to give people what they want to see in a movie.
That's correct.
Obviously, who doesn't want to see that? He's not the most. Season 4, I would have to say, is the counter argument to that. While the villain in the first arc of season 4, whose name is Overhaul, is not quite as flashy powerful, if that makes sense. Like, he's not summoning lightning storms and going Super Saiyan at the end there, but his quirk and how he can use it is more powerful than anything 9 could do, in my opinion.
Okay.
And really, can correct me if I'm wrong, but Overhaul doesn't have any major drawbacks with his quirk that I can remember.
I mean, his skin gets rashy. That's it.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's only a personal.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Overhaul, while it's not as flashy powerful, I would say he would be the strongest villain we've seen so far, besides All for One. But we haven't really got to see. We haven't got to see All for One really yet because I think they're kind of building him up a little bit more.
Well, they're also building
Tomura. And Tomura too. Tomura may be a little underwhelming, but his quirk is very similar to Overhaul's.
I feel like he'd be a better assassin.
Well, they're currently building
him
up.
Kane and I were talking about this the other day, or maybe you and I were talking. One of the Deku is All Might's golden child, and Deku still has a lot of improvement. While Tomura is All for One's golden child, thus, to put them side by side, there's a lot of improvement to be had there.
For both.
So by the end of things, it's probably going to be a little bit more interesting. Tomura's probably going to be a little bit more of that overwhelming.
So, I'm no spoilers for the manga, but Tomura at the point in this big war, he's not fighting in it currently because he is currently undergoing improvements.
Okay.
And by I'm not saying improvements like he's getting modulated in any way, but he is working on they're working on something they're calling Shigaraki reawakened, like an awakened Shigaraki.
That'd be cool.
Okay.
We haven't seen what that can do yet, but he's basically building up to his ultimate form.
With disposing of villains, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What would you have rather seen with those villains?
And I would bring up the point of lazy writing in the sense that since the movie's non-canon until they can say it's canon, why not just make the movie canon and introduce those characters? Which they probably will, which will make it canon.
So the thing is that the only reason I think they don't make it canon right out of the gate is because these movies typically have to fall in this weird line, like sort of near where the anime's at, but before where the manga's at, because you don't want to make a movie that appeases to the manga fans, then introduce these characters now, or you don't want to like say like, hey, these characters have been here the whole time, they just haven't been mentioned in the manga yet.
Right.
And that was one point I kind of bring up. So first off, currently in the show, I just thought it through. There have been 3 deaths of the show as of recently. There have been, I mean, granted, one of the deaths, like 2 of the deaths are kind of like minor. Well, one of them is like a news thing that's mentioned, but there are 2 deaths on screen of like characters biting the dust in the show, and it's so they are slowly building up to that they're not going to be protected all this time. I don't think we'll ever see a character die in a movie, only because, and I mentioned this to you, not everyone's going to see the movie, and so you can't have a major plot reveal, like, and that's the point of whether it being canon or not canon. Not even that, like, the movie, you can't have a major plot reveal in the movie because not everyone's going to see the movie. And like, for example, let's say they missed it in theaters just now, it's not going to come out on DVD for another 6 months. Everyone's going to be like, what happened? And next you know, they're going to get the movie eventually, and then they'll finally either find a website that's streaming it or pick it up somewhere, and they're like, oh wow, that's what I missed. That's why I don't think they have any big plot revelations in a movie, because
and I know you mentioned movies are for fan service, fan appeal. Other than that point alone, why make a movie if
for the fan? Like, well,
like why? Like, other than just that sole one point, why waste the money? Which they made the money back. But why waste the manpower and the time when they could be working on maybe a new season, then release maybe not back-to-back seasons,
so
but like that.
You're asking a question that, while being true, the reason is for the fans. Like, for example, it's not the fact of, oh, it's non-canon or it's this offshoot, this own thing. Why on earth would you spend the manpower? Or you can see it as, here are 20 characters from this show that are arguably awesome. Why not take all of them and throw them in the weirdest and most strenuous situations they've been in, and pushing these characters to their limits just to have fun? Like, just take these characters and just see what they can do and just have fun with them, and like not have to worry about any like just like it is for fan service, because it's just to put these characters that you hopefully love, if you're seeing the movie, hopefully you love them, in these new scenarios, in these interesting places they're at, and like pulling them up against, like, that's why I really liked this movie, because as I said earlier, there's no teachers. They are on their own. There's nothing stopping these villains from taking out these kids, and these kids they have to stand up and push past their limits, all of them for the most part, except like 3 of them. 3 of them they tried, but they didn't do much. But like, for example, the Chimera fight, like, that was them at first. They tried to go using their powers to what they thought were their limit, like sort of like their natural limits, but trying to be strategic about it. When they tried to take him out the first time, not on the beach, but when their first attempt of freezing/poisoning him, they try that, and of course it fails, because he's stronger than that. So they just have to go, especially in that fight, it's mainly Todoroki has to go way further than he's ever gone before, go do something he has not done before, and pushing himself past his physical limit, pretty much, like near death almost, because he didn't exactly look human after what he did. He was like 90% ice. He's like, he had to do it, and that's it. It's just these characters it's basically taking these characters in the span of 90 minutes and pushing them to their absolute limits. Because you get to see Kirishima's Red Riot form, you get to see Ida's Recipro Turbo, which hasn't been officially revealed in the show yet, but Todoroki freezing people beyond belief, like even Koda, the one that can summon animals, summons a wall of bats. Like, all these characters are doing things that you haven't seen them do in the show, and that's because the show has this structure to it. It's just all these it's like an end game fight scene. The whole movie's like an end game fight scene. All the characters you love just doing what they do best, being awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point of its existence. Its existence is, while it is like, why does it exist because of without fan service? Like, if it wasn't for fan service, why does it exist? It exists to be fans. It's supposed to be there for the fans, to make them have fun.
And to quickly tie into that,
Good.
The end result of that is, I think, kind of what they're going for. Just builds excitement.
I was about to say, just have fun.
I mean, it just builds excitement.
And I think that's where my issue...
it's like a passion project.
Resides. I guess I don't... Like, I like that, but I don't think... Because I'm more for... if these movies were canon, I'd be... Like, this wouldn't even be happening right now. That's my thing. And I know, I understand the point, blah, blah, blah. We've already went over that, like,
yeah,
many
we've already
times.
covered the canon, non-canon.
It's for fan service, but like you said, well, if people don't see the movie and it's canon, then why would you see the movie? Why wouldn't you see the movie?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another point to say, then why even make the movie? And you say, just for fan service. That it's like, to me, that's just not a satisfactory answer.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you make a movie, it should be able to further the plot, even if by a little, further the plot somehow, in the sense that those characters we were introduced to, we see, like, if the movie came out February 1st, which it didn't, let's just say it did, February 1st, and February 2nd, a new episode comes out, and we see one of those characters. Now you're saying, well, if people can't go watch it, I understand that point, but if you're sitting here today and you're saying some people don't watch illegally, I mean, I think a lot of us here watch illegally.
Well, here's the thing. I used to be super legal. I'm currently on a spree of watching shows fairly legally for the most part.
I don't.
Using Funimation.
Are you sure?
Yeah, use my
we
Funimation.
didn't even know that I was using his,
it was.
Or I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't know.
I heard about that.
You were literally the first person I texted asking about it, because I'm 90% sure it's Noah, and then you were like, oh yeah, it is me, and I'm like,
I thought it was mine.
No.
Your last 2 points. Okay, the third one about not killing the characters. Okay, yes. I can agree with that.
And I'll pause you there. I just want to refer to the dragons, like, yeeting those two. I forget the two into the mountain.
He's referring to Jiro and
they should have died.
Hold on.
That's my thing.
Who was with her at that point?
Was it not?
Kaminari?
No. It was Ojiro, the tail dude.
Yes.
Yeah, them two. Sorry. They take out the bridge, and then they feel accomplished dragons come and throw them into the wall.
They got
dude. Wait. Quick aside. Can we talk about the meme of Shoji protecting the kids from the literal blast, that meme of the military guy over the kid as they're sleeping? That's all I saw when Shoji did that. When he's like, "Kids, run!" And I'm like,
run,
dude,
kids.
This is that military meme of just the guy getting knives in the back.
And then he did.
Dude.
But yes, go ahead.
But so I can agree with that.
Okay.
Because, let me continue.
Yeah, good.
Because that's typically what I like to see in shows.
Okay.
I do
a
too.
lot of shows that are on my top lists are like that.
My number one show includes death.
A show that I've been rewatching that I was actually telling Huber about the other night, Old Noah.
I know you're watching Old Noah.
Very much like that, and a lot of people die in that show. And it's almost very sad, but at the same time, while I can't agree with that, and that's personally what I like to see, I also have to think you have to look at what is this show about. All right, let's use Old Noah Old Noah is about a war between two factions, and people caught up in the middle of that.
People die in war.
Whereas My Hero,
which is a shonen,
right,
meant for 13 to 18-year-olds, which is kind of like the appeal.
You're talking about students at a school.
Exactly.
It doesn't. It's a little bit out of character. It does. Let's use this terminology. It doesn't vibe well.
That's fine. Yeah,
to
kill
kids. Put
killing
that
kids
into a show with about students, whereas a show about
adults,
a war, and things of that nature, and invasions, that makes more sense.
Sure.
So I would say that about that point, but I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that.
I was about to say, even though my favorite show is a high school life show with death in it, but that's a different thing.
The last point, the power of friendship kind of deal.
I have something to say about that, but you can go first. Oh,
remind me.
Switch to that time of day.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I have it to switch every day, and it switches.
It's hot
at 8 p.m. apparently.
What was the rest of that point? The power of friendship.
It was basically how it was falling to the trope of like, one person is not enough. It's the power of friendship.
If we do this together, basically, if we do this together, we can do anything.
Yeah, and he was mentioning what? Why is it changing?
I don't know.
Oh.
It just hit 8 and just now, so it might have like messed up.
Maybe it did.
Just that whatever.
Okay.
If it does it again,
I like that background.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like it. I like all the backgrounds I have.
So you're just saying that you think
he doesn't
dumb?
like the trope of with friendship we can
it's
do
too
anything.
Common?
Well, like my thing is, I mean, he's a literal god, and he was in a tornado, right? He was in that. Like, how can you tell me after being literally thrown? He even used lightning on them before this fight. Like, he beat him up before this fight, and then they were in the dragon's teeth, and they were getting crushed. So, arguably, they could have had broken bones, like they were with the lightning again.
Yeah.
But the first time they fought, exactly.
The first time they fought, yeah, they all that. I mean, well, that's the thing. That's anime, and like,
I don't like that excuse,
but here's
though.
the thing. This whole show has always been about, like, for example, think about it. Deku's been a character that not as much anymore, but back in like season 1 and early season 2, he just broke his bones all the time, and like, and that was his. And I know
we
that's
talked about that.
Like
There's no repercussions for that.
Well, there was. I mean, his arms are scarred now, which.
Right.
But like, I mean, there's no lasting repercussions.
Exactly.
But the thing is that nurse. Well, like the nurse keeps telling him like, hey, you need to chill. I'm breaking your arms constantly.
Can't heal him anymore.
I was about to say, and so like, I mean, they're breaking bones, but like again, that's anime. Like anime is taking like, because that's the whole point of the show. It's the show of, the best way I can describe the show is don't give up. That's sort of the mentality of the show. Like, even when all odds seem against you, you don't
fairy tale. You
don't back down. I would argue it's not fairy tale, because you mentioned how this one's about power of friendship. This movie's the first time that, besides both movies are sort of outliers that don't explain the rule. Like, those are the only two instances of friendship, sort of, or teaming up, saving the day, sort of, because all the other times, for example, like the All for One fight in season 3, that was All Might on his own. That was All Might just pushing himself to his limits.
And I actually mentioned that to Huber.
Yeah, the muscular fight, beginning
I
of season 3.
thought we were just focusing on the movies when I made that point.
Well, yeah, but like, so my point is that like, I know that the movies do the teamwork, make the dream work sort of thing, but I feel like since they don't do that much in the show, I feel like I'm fine with it, because it's not a reused trope of the show itself. Because most of the time in the show, it's one character. Like, if characters team up, it's never the thing that actually beats the bad guy per se. Like, for example, the closest thing that a team up happened was Stain, but any of them could have beaten Stain on their own. It's the only reason they had to team up is because 2 of them got paralyzed pretty early on, and then they all teamed up and just kicked them. Like,
I will say, also, Bakugo and Deku. Deku for sure. I mean, it's the story about how he becomes the number one hero.
Right.
So, and Bakugo, I think it's more or less, pretty sure that he's going to be right behind him, or right now ahead of him. Still,
he's currently. I would say currently at their current statuses, because Deku has to break his body to be any better. Bakugo is the better hero at this point in the show.
So, I would say, in that sense, if you look at it like that, sure, why not say that they could take on a villain like that? And if All Might, who carried One for All before Deku, I mean, All Might, pretty dang powerful.
Yeah.
It just makes sense that having that quirk
would
alone is strong enough to beat anything.
And
but I mean, potentially.
Yeah, and one point, you didn't really bring it up now, but I just want to mention it. You mentioned this when we went to Waffle House, that so without spoiling the exact details of the fight,
right?
Deku uses 100% of All for One.
Yes.
And it does not do anything.
Yes.
It doesn't do much. Yeah. And then he teams up with Bakugo, and then they beat him. And so Huber's argument was like, if 100% of All for One could do it, why would just Bakugo helping increase that? Like, why would that increase the odds? And my argument is, like, Deku can say whatever number he wants before powering up.
He used 1,000,000%.
I was about to say, that's what I was trying to find in the manga, but I couldn't find it. During the muscular fight, he punches with one arm 100%, punches with another arm 100%, and then he just goes 1,000,000% punches with both arms. And, like, I'm like, you can say whatever number you want, but correct me if I'm wrong, I would say post team up Deku, that's 100%. That kick he did before, I don't think was 100%. When he became a non-corporeal lightning being, I would say is when he was at 100% of. Because, like, and even you say they teamed up, but if you actually, I noticed this after the third time watching the fight, they never really attack together until, like, the very beginning. They attack together, but then post that, both of them are just doing big punches on their own to him. Like,
would you not say that's teaming up?
Well, but, like, for example, like, when I think of power of friendship, I think more of, like, best example I can think of is Sword Art Online movie with Yuki and Asuna, like, hand in hand, sort of, like, doing one big blow together, or like the end of the first movie where Deku and All Might both punched together at the same time. I don't see that as teaming up. I see that, I mean, they're working together, so technically they're teaming up, but, like, the idea of, like, they're teaming up like this instead of less like this, which is what I see more of the power of friendship, like the sort of deal.
And while it's like, of course I wouldn't call them friends, but to your point,
they're frenemies.
The power of friendship, the whole bond type of thing.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Okay.
Some, as far as the general idea of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, my question would be, what would you have rather seen?
Yeah.
I mean, what
I would have rather seen.
Considering, and keep this in mind. Keep in mind that this whole movie, even from its concept image at the beginning, was Deku and Bakugo. That's the whole.
That's true.
And that goes back to the
movie,
Marvel effect.
Yeah. Because if you, hold on, just a quick second. But when the movie was announced, it was a picture of Deku and Bakugo side by side holding up an announcement sign for the movie. So this whole movie was those two together.
So yeah, that goes back to the Marvel effect, and then that goes back to canon, not canon. So, like, this happened before the events. So at some point they'll probably say in the anime where, eventually, right?
I'm pretty confident I know where it takes place in the manga, but
so let's say it happens wherever you think it is.
Yeah.
That happens, right? In the anime, we probably will be mentioned like when they talked about the island before.
Yeah.
Talked about island. Oh yeah, you guys were the island. Oh yeah, call, hi, yeah, blah blah blah. That tiny little side makes that canon, right? But I think going back to the whole, like, fan service thing, it's more like everything that happened in that movie doesn't progress the characters in any way, shape, or form, because it's like they started at point A and they ended at point A, and they have to in the long run. Yeah, I understand they have to. And I think that's another point why I don't think.
I mean, arguably, some characters ended at 8.5, like maybe 8.25.
Like Todoroki.
Like,
I mean, he gains one little new skill.
Well, no, I'm talking like Bakugo a little bit, Todoroki, but, like, because depending on if this movie's canon or not, different outcomes may be possible. Because, yeah, again, without spoiling anything, the ending teases something of a character maybe going, instead of being from A to A to A.2.
Yeah.
Like something that would be pretty big for the show overall. And now, I mean, they could say that and it never comes up again. But I told you my personal theory on it, and I can't really explain it without going into it. I just think that character is going to be more powerful now. I don't think you'll have the full capabilities. I don't think you'll ever reach B in that situation, but I believe that with A.2 he will be able to be more powerful and a better hero for the most part because of it.
Do you have anything?
No, but yeah, I mean, I can agree. You know, power of friendship, sure. But again, I mean,
and like I said,
what else do you do? You know,
before. Why did it stop recording for you? Your phone might be full storage.
just delete. I think I still have. Just clear out my recently deleted.
I can't even get in your phone.
Oh wait, yeah, give it to me. I forgot. Face.
Pause.
Yeah, we'll pause.
No, I mean we can keep talking. It'll just be a technical difficulty screen until I can.
Okay. Like I said in the beginning, I didn't expect y'all to even agree with all points, at least one. And Noah, you've agreed with a few. Not like all the way 100%, but at least you can understand where I'm coming from. And that's basically all I'm trying to do. I'm not here to change your mind, because when somebody's set in their ways, changing someone's mind is basically the equivalent of making them do something they don't want. It's not what
You idiot.
Go.
Can we please get a clip of Kanan clapping over and over, please?
But yeah, and then I have. This is my conclusion point. I say all this to say this. My Hero Academia is a good show, and I like the characters. But to sit here and tell me that the movies and shows are better than other shonens because the characters, I messed up here. I know what I meant to say. But I was typing and whatever. Shows are better than other shonens because the characters are not right. So I know what I meant. I forgot to put because the characters are like better, more colorful, more stuff like that. If that makes sense.
Okay.
If anyone has seen any other shonens, then most of the main characters are cookie cutter.
Yeah.
But I will say the side characters are given some more development, which gives me hope for My Hero, because I think we can agree again. This show is about Bakugo and Deku, and that's the two main characters we're going to see grow.
When it comes to the show overall, I would argue, especially with how season 4 starts off, it's mainly Deku's story. Because you'll figure this out when you finally end up watching season 4, like every other human. But season 4 starts off by splitting up the characters. Like they take a certain group of characters, and some of them. Actually, most of those characters they take, you're like, why these characters? And they kind of take them off on this adventure and this journey, and you're like, but these characters that I love, they're not in this, and they won't be in it. There's a lot of characters you just won't see for a long portion. But arguably before I read the events of season 4 in the manga, there was a character who was about here on my class 1A list. And you know who he is. He went from here to here, right up there with everyone else, like right below, like. And also they introduced Lemillion. I really like as a character. He's really cool, and I really want to see what they do with him, because there's Amajiki from class 3A. He's up there. Like, they introduce these characters that are like, that you're like, oh, those guys are cool. I want to know more about them. Because, like, for example, a character they introduce is a character with a very powerful quirk. Like top 5 hero. Like, if he was an adult, he would be in the top 5 of heroes. Like, his quirk is awesome. His one character flaw, though, is his complete lack of self-confidence. He hates himself. He does not believe he is powerful enough, but he is clever. He's strong. He's fat. Like, he's very capable, but he just hates himself. And that's his whole flaw. And like, he has to work on that, and that's something that they sort of work on in that little bit he has. And he has a really cool fight that he does that's so, like, there's that. There's, like, My Hero, not only do I find the character designs more appealing, because the character designs are more unique. Like,
before continuing, I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't mean to interrupt, but
this has been an hour of us interrupting each other, and how dare you interrupt me now?
I tried not to. I've done my very best not to talk at all during when you two were talking. I tried to wait.
I would say I'm trying my best, but I'm not.
I just do it out of
respect.
Respect and. Anyways, college learned, yes, but have you seen any other shonens?
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
front to back.
I have.
I know you have.
I have actually. I've watched.
Which ones?
I mean, well, I haven't watched Boruto, the sequel series, but I skipped some of the filler episodes because there is a guide online to skip filler episodes of Naruto. I've watched Naruto front to back. Okay. I watched same thing. I did the same thing with Bleach. I skipped there, dude. If you look this up, there's like pages of filler episodes. And Naruto's is the funniest because it's like green and red, and there'd be like basically almost a season's worth of episodes that are just marked out as like non-important, and you're like, it's like, wow, that shortens up the show a bit. Yep. I've watched that front to back. I mean, arguably like the big shonens, like I'm currently watching Black Clover. I'm keeping up with that. That's a big shonen right now.
I've heard of Black Clover, and I heard it's just like another shonen.
It is like another shonen, and that's why like. But the thing is that currently I hated the first season a lot, but the more current seasons I've been enjoying a good bit actually. I mean, it depends on what you define as shonen, because some people classify like all action anime as shonen, and in that regard, I've seen like, I've seen like Akame ga Kill, which some people classify as a shonen. It's weird, but it actually is. Some people classify it as shonen. It's tricky.
I forget the definition of shonen.
Yeah, well, like a lot of the reason shonen got its the word shonen is from the Shonen Jump series, like the publisher, and that publisher does a lot of different types of anime, but there is a pattern of animes. So yes, I have seen shonens a fair bit. Actually, one of my used to be favorite shonens. Actually, because of the lack of power of friendship, I hate that show's ending.
Yeah.
Soul Eater, the whole show is about bonding together, and because basically the concept of Soul Eater is there are weapons and meisters. Meisters choose a person that is their weapon, and they have to link souls, and the closer their soul relationship is, the more powerful their weapon can be used as. So, of course, our main protagonist, Soul and Maka, like, they have the greatest soul bond of any of the students at the school. And final episode, they do their big ultimate... at the point, their big move that they had, their big ultimate soul move, does not work.
And then she punches him, right? And then
that's and you're like, oh, they're about to unlock a new ultimate soul bonding. No, Maka just goes up single-handedly and punches the dude in the face. And that's the ending of the show. And I'm like, I would have... Because, I mean, granted, it's not power of friendship, but it was more upsetting because... I was more upset with the ending of that show. Okay. It's personally one of the reasons why it doesn't hit my top 10 animes of all time, because it was so good until she literally punched him in the face.
We need to wrap this up here in a second, but...
No, this is gonna break the episode for longest. This is gonna be...
Sure? Are you sure? You want it to keep on going on?
We can keep going.
We're at an hour 20.
I know.
Okay.
Our longest episode's 1:30.
Yes. That's what I was like, let's wrap this up. But if you don't want to, we can continue.
Well, it's just because I haven't even activated my trump card yet.
Oh. So I guess that was basically my final point, but I guess a question for both of you all is... Noah's answered this.
Yeah, a little disappointed. I know it's funny. You have had this debate twice already with the individuals of us.
I was just asking Noah questions.
Oh,
I was trying to find middle ground with Noah.
Okay. All right. So what's your question? Por favor.
I'm trying to remember how to phrase it. So please help me with this. But
you need to help him with this.
The question was like, oh man, should my hero get the amount of hype it is getting for what it is? I kind of asked you that question, like similar, not that exact, but it was similar, you know?
So you're thinking, is it worth the hype?
Is it worth how much? Is it the best shonen, best anime, not best anime? Oh yeah, best anime out there right now.
Okay, so my point with this is, I'd argue that nothing ever reaches its hype level. Hype almost always exceeds what it is representing. And that's a fact for everything. Like, I mean, something can be hype, but once you hear the hype for something, it always, because the best your imagination will always come up with something better. And that's it. So I don't think it reaches its hype level, but that's a personal belief of mine that nothing ever reaches its hype level. But I would say My Hero is the best ongoing best ongoing long form series right now. Like, I know that's a kind of putting it in a category, and that's only because I have not seen all these smaller shows that people are saying are great. But I believe as big tentpole flagship animes go, it's the best one right now. That's my 2 cents.
I don't remember what my answer was.
I think you were like, you said it's not the best, and then you like expounded upon that why it wasn't.
Yeah, like currently, if I remember my list, My Hero is my number 2 anime.
It's my number 3.
And the thing is that honestly, if it keeps going at the pace it's going and what I've read, if it lives up to what that is set up, like if it does that justice, it will reach my number 1. Like that's it. It will. And that's just because like
yeah, that is personal preference. I understand that.
Yeah. And just
I just don't.
Well, it's because like, every other show that I love, I can easily point out these massive flaws in it. I struggle to point out massive flaws in My Hero. My biggest flaw for My Hero for the longest time was that Deku cried all the time, and that he was a sucky character because of it.
I hate that so much.
But like he's past that now, and that was like my big complaint for a long time on the show. I'm like, I love the show, but Deku's kind of a crybaby.
Yeah.
And because I loved the characters, I loved the animation style, I loved almost everything about it. And then that's it. Like I have a hard time watching a single episode of My Hero Academia and going like, wow, there was a lot wrong there. Most of the time when I watch a new episode, I'm typically satisfied, and I'm just like, yep, that's great. I love these characters. I love seeing them. I love seeing them do things. Because currently, right now, we're in the anime. We're in a school festival arc, which in all animes is sort of like the down point in the season. Like, more chill, nothing big happening. But the thing is that at this point, season 4, I love all these characters, and watching all these characters that I love trying to make a band is kind of funny, and I'm enjoying that. And they have fun little jokes, and it's just personal like preference. And I feel like if and one thing I always struggle with is I hate to put an ongoing show as my number 1. I like closure and endings. If you look at my top 10 list of animes, they're all animes that have definite endings for the most part.
Right.
So I can't say it will be my number 1 until I know how it ends, and it ends.
Okay.
If it continues on forever, there's always a chance that it goes bad at some point. But currently, at the point where we're at, I have not found it going bad. I've been enjoying everything that's been coming out.
As far as personally, I remember my number 1, and I can't narrow this down to one. I can, but I think it does it more fairly to say Gundam is my number 1 as a series. It has a lot of shows, and I think it's I don't think you can divide that up. If I had to pick a favorite show amongst that series, it'd be 00. That was really good. Number 2 is actually SAO. Because
still haven't watched
it's
the
an
third
awesome
season.
show.
Yeah, I love SAO.
And we have a lot of memories of that.
That's the thing.
So that puts it. And even if it was just a good show, it would probably still be number 2 above My Hero. But My Hero could take that. But My Hero's not taking either one of those 2 spots for me. But I do love it. And
so and this is me personally. So because I watch so many movies and I try to be as critical and objective as possible, I typically try to cut out as much of the memories or stuff like that. But I couldn't. SAO still ended up in my top 10, and that's because it is just it was a phenomenon, and it was a beautiful moment that all culminated in Yumi and Josh Lee driving down to Atlanta to go to this theater that was falling apart at the seams with only 2 theaters showing, and it was double decker. So one theater below us was showing Logan, and the theater above us, well, the theater we were in was above it, so like we were
Mm-hmm.
deckering it sort of. We're watching the Sword Art Online movie, and it's just that thing, and it's just like that moment that was. So that's personally why SEO would be my number 2, but I feel like My Hero has passed the point, and I think it passed that point after the All for One fight. It officially passed the point of like this. It surpassed my memories of SAO. I still love SAO, and we need to get the gang back together to watch the 3rd season. But
as far as ongoing, just because I can't think of anything that can probably beat it, I would say it could probably win best ongoing at this moment.
At this moment, right?
Yeah.
All time, most definitely not. But at least for me, I mean,
yeah.
But I do love it, and it's close. But there, for the other 2 that are above it, there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
It's funny. Well, they just need to become. It needs to become a mecha anime essentially, because I forgot your filtered love for mechas. Because I remember I found that out about you, and I'm like, why on? I love mecha shows. I love a good mecha show, but I'm like, why on earth?
I often think they're the most well done graphically.
Okay.
Sometimes the CGI is a little janky for me, personally.
I can agree with that. Some of them, there's some pretty bad ones in that mix.
So I'm gonna wrap this up with 2 things before I activate my trump card. Just a fun little fact. This is something I told Noah that I just find funny. These characters, these students are powerful, and there's a thing in the manga and the anime now called Quirk Singularity Doomsday Theory, which is basically, so quirks are genetic, or they mutate into. So, like, for example, if you have someone with firepower and someone with an ice power, they marry, have a baby, and that baby will either have ice powers, fire powers, mixture of the 2, or a completely different quirk that's called a mutation. And that's how all the quirks work. You either got, it's basically like, most likely you'll get one parent or the other's quirk, or you're going to get something crazy.
Todoroki.
Yeah, Todoroki, and like, but like also Eri, a character in season 4, she is a mutation quirk. Like, her quirk came out of nowhere, and it's just like, whoa, what? But the thing is that it compounds. So like, so let's say 1 and 2 have a baby. Their baby is now a strength of 2, pretty much. 1 and 1, and then that person finds another 2, 2 and 2, 4, and they keeps multiplying. And each generation is more powerful than the last. Right. And if you want evidence of this, keep in mind the first quirk was a baby that could glow.
Okay.
And that's it. That was his quirk. His quirk was that he could go. And now we have characters that have sweat like napalm, can turn hard as rocks, direct lightning, change the effects of gravity. Like, that's a long way from a glowing baby. So characters become more powerful. But now my trump card. Let me see your points.
I'm interested to see this.
Let me see your points. So I'm going to do a quick rundown, just of the main points. Okay. So, carbon copy of the first movie. That we're gonna toss that point because that's specifically this movie's case. But let's just go with the formula of this movie. Fan service, and is fan service worth it for the most part? Power of friendship. All right, so those 3 points. How is the Konosuba movie any different?
Konosuba is a completely different
No, it's
genre.
not.
Okay, so before Canyon even tries to use this, he doesn't have logical reason yet. I'm going to prove him wrong before we even get into this. Konosuba should not be taken seriously. If you take Konosuba seriously, then you need to reevaluate your entire view on anime. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen as much as y'all have, but yeah.
And it's a fantasy anime in the sense that there's no real life.
But no, so here's the thing. No, not that point of realism and stuff like that. In the context of the show. So let's go through this micro quickly, point by point. All right, so same formula. Characters go to a far-off land that's nowhere near the main context of the story to have a completely separate adventure on their own, do their own thing, and most of the characters end up at the same point where they were at the beginning of the movie. Now, the Konosuba movie has Megumin get a slightly more powerful explosion magic at the end, but I guarantee you that will not show up in season 3.
Keep on going.
Okay.
You got it.
So that point.
Yeah.
To fan service, that movie is fan service. It is.
The entire show is fan service, I'd argue.
Well, but like that movie is fan service for the show. Like not fan service as a whole for anime, but like a fan service for that movie, because the movie is completely separate events. It is far away. None of it truly connects. And then the power of friendship. The ending goes. I can't remember. Was it the movie or the end of season 2 that had the cannon that was supposed to defeat the monster?
That was the movie.
Was that the movie where like it was like a dry rack they used?
Yeah.
So they have this creature, this arguably god tier level
Correct.
creature.
Correct.
They have a thing that's supposedly able to stop it.
Correct.
That thing doesn't work.
Correct.
So in the My Hero movie, Deku at 100%. This movie, a cannon. The way that the thing is stopped is by Megumin basically doing a spirit bomb with the power of Yun, her best friend, well, frenemy, same situation as Bakugo and Deku. They hold hands, and the entire town puts magic upon Megumin for her to do a big attack. So with the power of all, she's able to defeat it.
Correct.
Same concept.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but you're taking Konosuba, quite literally a comedy anime.
Yeah.
And My Hero,
But,
arguably a mature-ish. I wouldn't say Konosuba's mature at all. There's a lot of
but like
that.
So my point
mature in
my
the
my
best
point
way.
my point being is not the shows on themselves, but like as a core idea.
Yeah,
of,
I
like,
agreed with that point.
Like for example of like in the concept of My Hero as a show. The movie is a separate event that is there just to see these characters you love do things that you love to see them do.
Sure.
Konosuba, the movie is a separate isolated event with characters you love, seeing them do stuff that you love to see them do.
Sure.
You see Darkness being pervy, you see Kazuma getting hit on and attacked by everything, and then you see Megumin do an explosion.
Yes.
In the My Hero Academia movie, you see these characters fight, use their moves to their fullest. You see Deku do an awesome punch. Like that's like I know they're completely different shows on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Correct.
But like as far as anime films go, they are essentially to that show the exact same thing. There are parallels to each other.
I did not disagree with that point.
So
I agreed with
why
you on that
is
point.
My Hero's wrong but Konosuba's fine? Because you've actively agreed that you like the Konosuba movie on this podcast.
Like I said, it's a comedy anime. It's a comedy anime. It's in its pure essence.
Yes.
It is defined as a comedy anime. My Hero is not a comedy anime in the slightest. You could say there's funny moments.
Yes.
But to say that it's a comedy anime would be disingenuous. So they can do whatever they want with a movie. I don't care.
Yeah.
They can they could say they went back to Japan, Aqua and Megumin. That'd be awesome. But I wouldn't care because it's not a show that should be taken seriously. I don't care about the development for the characters. I'm there to just watch it because it's funny. And sure, there'll be a little bit of story development. Maybe eventually they will defeat the king.
So think
Demon
of
King.
think of the My Hero movies as that you don't care about character development. You just want to see these characters and you want to see them do like that's it. Like because you see it as a comedy anime. I see My Hero as a hero show.
Exactly.
Like and that's the thing. Like I mean of course when character development happens that's that. But when I went to go see that movie, I wanted just to see awesome fight scenes. Beautifully animated, and these characters just going full tilt. Again, proper terminology here, but and so like that's the thing. They're in they're in their essence the same thing, and so I would say like, I mean I'm just struggling to find out. Like I understand that they're completely different, and to you you don't care per se, but
let me ask you this question: would you have preferred to see development in this movie and it still have the fan service? Would that be better or worse?
So I would argue in any situation that it would be better, but again, as we discussed prior, you risk of isolating arguably half your fan base.
And then I'd bring up the point: why do you even do that? Then why?
Well, that's the thing, and is that why do you do it? And it's
blah,
fans,
blah, blah,
and that's why the movies exist. The fan service are there for people who want to actively search out and find this movie. For them to have a good time, have fun. Same goes with the Sword Art Online movie. Happens pretty separate. It doesn't take place in a game at all. It's its own separate thing. And then that final fight scene is nothing but fan service. But guess what? it was cool and it was fun. You got to see these characters in their raw form. Like, remember when Yui basically goes like, yeah, and I pulled Asuda's skin from Gun Gale.
Yeah.
Like Asuda, the sniper girl from SAO. Sinon. Yeah, I was going by her human name. Okay.
Well, we don't care about those.
No. Well, the court will when you try to approach a 17-year-old.
no.
They're not gonna call her.
Okay, boomer.
But so like for example, so after she makes the transition from Gun Gale to SAO, she has
Yeah.
this like elf skin
Mm-hmm.
and uses a bow. But then in the movie, they give her a classic Gun Gale outfit and in her sniper rifle.
Mhm.
Can't remember the name of her sniper rifle. Hecate, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
She gets all that back, and literally it's explained away as like, and I got the source code from Gun Gale, and it's back now. And I'm like, and at that time we were like, yes! And that's it. It's just supposed to be fun for the movies. Like the movies are for fans, not for people who are actively trying to watch the show to get development. They're for the super fans. They are there to make the people who would care for a movie happy with the movie.
I think that's where the disagreement all around is. When I go see something, I want to see development. I like story more rather than fan service. I'd rather be told an entire story, given a plot, and further development of these characters rather than them, punch each other to death.
So
Not death. They don't die.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They can't die.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the thing. Like, that's sort of the base disagreement that you've mentioned. Like, that's just the difference. Because, like, as someone who sees a lot of movies, I see a lot. I saw 2 movies today. Okay, I've seen so much crap that is just unapologetically poorly written, and it sucks, and it's not even entertaining.
Okay.
If a movie, my ideology was stop trying to get this perfect movie from every movie. My goal when I when I see a movie, any movie, anime or otherwise, I ask myself 2 questions: what is this movie trying to do, and does it succeed at it?
So you're watching a movie for pleasure, rather than
no. Whatever. Like, for example, when I went to go see the movie Uncut Gems, what is this movie trying to be? It is trying to be a gripping, entertaining, quick-paced movie about a guy who keep on making these back-end deals and barely scooching out with his life. Does the movie succeed at that? Yes. Dark Phoenix. What did it try to be? A super serious dark movie about the Dark Phoenix saga from the comics. Does it succeed at it? No, I don't like Dark Phoenix. I like Uncut Gems. My hero, the movie, Heroes Rising. What was its goal? To please the fans, to just have fun with it. It was a movie that you're supposed to be able just to sit down and just enjoy it for what it is. And does it succeed at that? In my mind, it does. And that's because
I'd have that view of yours going into a Konosuba movie, but in a serious anime like My Hero, I'd say otherwise.
Well, so the reason why I mentioned that's my ideology for movies is that you don't know what a movie's trying to do until you kind of get the gist of it. Like, for example, Uncut Gems, if you walk into it very beginning, you can tell it's trying to be tense, it's trying to be real, it's trying to keep you like just guessing what's going to happen. And when you watch these anime films, you're supposed to just realize, okay, this is just supposed to be. It doesn't try, like, if it tried to be developing something but failed to do it, then I think the movie failed. But the movie doesn't try to develop, and it's just trying to be fun. And so, in my mind, the movie set a goal of just having fun, cool fights, and it succeeded at that for me, personally.
Okay.
And that
was
where we're going to have to wrap this up, because this is...
That was the trump card, the Konosuba movie?
The Konosuba movie was my trump card because I understand that you have them separated, but in my mind... I
understand why you said that point,
yeah,
but
in my mind, they are the same thing for what they stand for.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's the thing. Like, it's... Because if Noah Davis was against me on this point, I would bring up the SAO movie. Because the SAO movie, all anime films based on a show, the movies are the exact same.
Similar.
They all have the exact same elements. They go far away from the main plots, or they go in a different direction from the main plot of the story. Introduce you characters you've never seen before that you won't see again, and just characters do their thing. and it's fan service, and that's it. And so that's why, like, and I've seen so many of these anime films that I haven't come to expect any more from them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only anime films that I expect more from are the ones that are completely solo, like Weathering with You or Your Name or Silent Voice.
Right.
Like, those movies that are solely, like, that aren't connected to any show. And even, like, the No Game No Life movie, it's connected to No Game No Life, but it's not connected to No Game No Life. So that one I judged a little harder than these other ones, because that one took place in the No Game No Life universe, but, like, Sora and what's the girl's name? I haven't seen that show in years, but Sora and the girl, they're in 2 scenes. One scene at the very beginning, one scene at the very end. And it's literally them getting told the story of this movie. So in my mind, the movie set a goal, and in my mind it achieved that goal. And I personally enjoyed it. I can't wait to add it to my collection of My Hero DVDs that when it eventually comes out. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see what My Hero does next.
All right. You have
Any
any closing points,
remarks?
Noah? And then once you're done,
we'll wrap it up.
Both points are pretty good. I see what you're talking about with, it's, you can't compare two things that are just complete opposite. I mean, I agree with that. And in some ways, the vanilla anime movie formula might work better for Konosuba in some ways, because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it definitely works for My Hero too in other ways. But I do see Kane's point too, where if you kind of put that to the side, yeah, they're different, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of similarities, because most anime and
vast majority,
most anime movies that are based upon a show, how about that, are pretty similar.
See, and the reason I brought up Konosuba is because when you and I had that Waffle House discussion, you kept on mentioning certain things, like you hated the idea of friendship wins overall. Like with friendship, you can do anything. And then I thought it's funny. I was gonna bring it up at Waffle House, but I couldn't remember if they like spirit bombed the explosion at the end, so I had to illegally find it, and I'm online, and it was like someone's cam phone, and I scrolled ahead, and they do like spirit bomb and explode, so like that sort of thing, and then like, and I know it's completely different tones of show, but just like when you were having the discussion, you kind of kept on broadening it to all of anime and less of just My Hero. You kept on expanding upon it, like this is what I don't like, and it's stuff that a lot of anime suffer from, and just that's why I brought up Konosuba, because you like that movie. It's a great movie. I love both movies. Both movies are great, and loving both of them, I can admit that they are, while completely different for what they're representing, they are carbon copies of their shows. Like, same formula, different shows, different tones. I love them both for different reasons. If I had to pick one over the other, I'd pick the My Hero movie for one reason that we cannot spoil. But the Konosuba movie, absolutely hilarious. I loved that movie, and that was hilarious. And I really want to know who in that family of like 4 behind us, who was the one that brought the family there. There was, when we went to go see it, there was a mom, a dad, a son, and a daughter, and I'm like, which one brought of them? Who? We're like, which one, or which combinations of them? I'm like, who is the one that instigate, like, say, hey, you want to know what we can do on this Thursday night? Go up to the Mall of Georgia and go see Konosuba the movie. Because everyone else, like, it was like groups of like kind of nerd groups, but there was this just father, son, daughter, mother, and you're just like, you're like, who instigated this? Because like, I could never convince anyone in my family to go see a subtitled movie. Nevertheless, Konosuba. Gosh, that movie's hilarious. I can't wait for that movie to become more readily available, because that movie is hilarious and I love it to death. But yeah, so this has been the longest episode, the official longest episode of the podcast.
I've had to pee since minute 30.
Oh, same for the past.
I have to pee
30,
so
40
bad.
minutes.
I have to pee so bad.
All right,
like,
so
really, this is the worst I've had to pee out of all the episodes we've ever done, and I've been stuck. You saw me do this with the mic. I was literally considering doing this. I had to pee so bad. So I'd make big pee.
So
same.
I have been Kanan.
I've been David.
Then your guest, Noah.
Huber, what's our fun fact of the week?
Give us a fresh one.
Pikachu is a war criminal.
I'll steal this one from you. Pikachu's design is actually based on a squirrel, not a mouse. And for Kanan's weird news of the day, the world's dying.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Coronavirus. You can find us on YouTube at Scatterpot Podcast. Scatterpot Productions, sorry.
Yes.
Instagram, Scatterpot_podcast. Everywhere else, Scatterpot Podcast. You can check out our gaming channel, which an episode just went live today. The final part of the stick fight episode.
Ooh.
That's a fun episode. That went live on Scatterpot Gaming. Hope you check us out.
Better check us out.
You better check us out.
That's a threat.
Well, I mean, I love doing it. So that has been our time. See you all next week.
Bye.